Hey everybody, this is Come&PartywithNick now here for the final podcast video of 2025. That is right, everybody. This has been a great first year of the podcast, and I hope you guys all enjoyed the episodes this year, and we're going to have a nice little fun discussion to end things off. And with me, I've once again got Mark and Astro here.
Hey everybody.
So yeah, let's go ahead and get started here, and because this is the last podcast video of the year, I figured it'd be only fitting to do kind of just like a general 2025 discussion thing in terms of video games and stuff. So the first thing I want to kind of discuss is just basically what we all thought was the best video game this year. So I guess let's go ahead and start with that. So what would you guys say was your favorite video game in 2025? Now, admittedly, I can't really give a complete answer to this without playing Kirby Air Riders or SpongeBob Titans of the Tide, at least not yet as the time I'm recording this. But as of now, I gotta say my favorite game of 2025 has gotta be Donkey Kong Bonanza. That game was just so great and so fun. I love just how many things you can do with DK, just how much you can explore. I genuinely do think that is like one of my new favorite games of all time. So if I were to personally pick a favorite video game this year, I'd have to go with DK Bonanza. But what would you guys say?
Yeah, this is honestly pretty tough. I mean, the first half of Nintendo's 2025 obviously wasn't very strong, but then once the Switch 2 came out, oh boy, all hell broke loose. And out of all the Switch 2 Nintendo exclusives that have come out so far, this is gonna be tough. But I think I'm probably gonna have to give it to Donkey Kong Bonanza, like you said.
Makes sense, and that is a very good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, DK Bonanza, they really did do a great job of that game, and I do think that game is like a great showcase of just, of just how awesome the Switch 2 is.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably also why it got nominated for Game of the Year.
Yep, and I would say that's well deserved too. But what would you say, Astro?
Yes, Bonanza. I haven't really played much this year at all, to be honest, because I'll play like 2 games pretty much. That's exclusive this year only.
I see, that makes sense. But either way, regardless of how many games you played, I would still say that's a very good and strong contender. And like Mark was saying, I'm definitely glad that game was a Game of the Year award contender for sure.
Of course, it would have been nice if it had actually won Game of the Year, but no, it had to go to an RPG again, because of course it did.
Yeah. Although, let's be honest, no Nintendo game is ever going to be winning Game of the Year anytime soon, as much as I want that to happen.
Yeah, and actually, I found out something interesting. Like, the whole Game of the Year thing apparently started, like, in the early 2000s, even before the Game Awards was actually officially established. And out of all of those winners, the Nintendo game has only taken Game of the Year one time, which was Breath of the Wild in 2017.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, in that case, you could argue that, it was only because that game was so damn good to the point where kind of would have been a crime if it didn't win Game of the Year.
Yeah.
He thinks that Nintendo isn't playing ball with Game of the Years. Game Awards, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like with the Game Awards, they're like, we don't give a damn. We can just do whatever we want and do things our own way, like we always do.
Yep. But either way, like I said, that's my favorite game of the year. Other games this year I really enjoyed playing, of course, as I mentioned in my last podcast video, I love both Mario Kart World and Sonic Racing Crossroads a lot. Pac-Man World 2 Repack was a great remake, and I also would say that once I get my hands on it, I'm sure I'm really going to enjoy Kirby Air Riders a lot as well.
Oh, speaking of Crossroads, it's on sale right now for $40 in the eShop. That'd be the perfect time to pick it up.
Yep. So for those who have not yet played that game and want to pick it up, I'd say go ahead and do it right now. Right now is probably your best chance to do so.
I've been playing a decent amount of games this year, but it's like none of it is exclusive to 2025 because outside like Bonanza, Mario Kart, it's been kind of a slow year, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Which, I mean, kind of makes sense. I mean, after all, the Switch 2 is of course brand new, and of course, Nintendo always kind of does this weird thing like before new console launches, where they basically just kind of let the other console kind of slowly but surely fade out. So I'm not really surprised that there wasn't really like a whole lot of stellar games, at least from Nintendo this year. But hopefully 2026 will really be a banger.
Well, it's going to start out strong, at least in my opinion, because it got that Wonder remake with the extra content. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, that'll be great for sure. And yeah, speaking of that,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of that, in case you guys are wondering, no, I'm not going to be counting the Galaxy 1 and 2 as part of that because, even though those are both amazing games, and, technically Mario Galaxy 2, I guess, would be my favorite game of the year if like, we were just counting, like, games like, just released or re-released in 2025 period. Even though those games are great, they're still just re-releases of old games, so I'm pretty much just talking exclusively about games that, actually came out this year for the first time.
Yeah, so for that same reason, like, the re-release of Donkey Kong Country Returns all the way back in January would not qualify for this.
Yeah. They may be great games, but they're still old games.
Yeah.
That's the problem, too. Like, with Nintendo especially, there's a lot of games like released that's like old games pretty much, like either remakes or remasters or just ports. That's made this hard to pick which your favorite. You're talking about exclusively 2025.
Yep. But like I said, I definitely do think for that reason alone, DK Bonanza I think probably is like the clear winner, and I really do think in many ways was easily by far, just the grandest game Nintendo came out this year. Now, let's get into it. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Now, people are saying that Bonanza is better than Odyssey. I'm going to be that minority say I disagree. I'm not saying Bonanza's bad at all. It's not bad at all. It's a great game, but like, I just like the movement more in Odyssey, to be honest.
I mean, that's fair. I personally do enjoy Bonanza more than Odyssey, to be honest, but I can definitely understand that perspective for sure. Mm-hmm. And really, in general, I kind of do hope it won't be long before we do get another 3D Mario game, but hopefully that'll come sooner than we realize.
People are saying Galaxy 3, but I don't know about that just because of the movie.
Yep. I mean, that would be cool if that did happen, but I don't know. It would also kind of feel a bit random to happen after like 16 years. We'll see though. But going on to another topic here, I kind of want to discuss pretty briefly, one of my favorite, I guess, like gaming moment, or just like kind of like just game or like meme or just talking point in general was this year for 2025, and. No, in regards to that, I would say, no doubt, even though it kind of also created like a bunch of cringe things, I would say probably my favorite discussion in general was, of course, like after the Switch 2 was initially, talked about in early April, kind of just like all the praise and controversy surrounding it, with like the $80 games and stuff, like all the memes that came from that, obviously, the people that were, talking about the hype for the console. If I had to pick, like, one specific moment this year, I would say that was probably the best. Was like the initial hype for the Switch 2. But what would you guys say?
For me, it would probably be the reveal of the Switch 2 all the way back in mid-January.
Yeah, I'd say it's a strong contender as well because that really did do a great job, building up hype for the console.
Okay, I'm going to say something weird, but like, I feel like that trailer in January was rushed because of all the leaks. I feel like Nintendo was kind of forced to put it out.
Yep. Yeah, I do kind of agree. It did feel like they were kind of just like forced to put it out last minute.
But it was still a shock though it was going to come that early, within 6 months after you showed the reveal trailer for a console. Usually people get like a year hype.
Yeah, it does kind of make sense though. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, and this is kind of, I guess, a bit unrelated, but it still kind of does apply, at least to the Switch 2 specifically. I do think, the idea that Nintendo probably was planning to release the Switch 2 at least a couple years earlier, but kind of got held behind because of like COVID and all that other stuff. It does kind of make sense. I think in a world where we didn't go for all that stuff, the Switch 2 probably would have come out probably around 2023 or 2024.
No, I have to agree with that, especially because if you think about it, we have got a ton of remakes in 2024. Like the 1,000-Year Door, Super Mario RPG, like around that time, we got a lot of remakes. So that's like, it's signal that, hey, the Switch is supposed to come out. Switch 2,
yeah, that's usually what happens when a console's late into its life cycle, for a Nintendo console anyway. But Nick also does bring up a valid reasoning. I mean, they probably wanted the Switch 2 to come out like in 2023 or 2024 because of COVID or whatever. That kind of pushed back the timeline. But that's kind of also why even some of the new games we saw come out during that period kind of ran horribly.
Yeah, and it is kind of devastating too because I still do think the original Switch was in many ways easily Nintendo's best console since like the GameCube. They easily had a massive home run and it's so great, rightfully so in my opinion. I think they had a nice home run with it, but it was still devastating to see that because of that fact and because of how long it lasted even the console itself just cannot run many of its own games towards the end of its life, to the point where they were suffering like severe frame rate drops and all that stuff. So frankly, it was just time for the Switch 2 to come out.
And speaking of Switch 2, they pretty much learned their lesson from the Wii U and named it directly what's supposed to be. Like, I'm pretty sure they learned their lesson, like, not to name it something so stupid like, Switch Me or something like that, Just so that people know, hey, this is the exact sequel to the Switch.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely do think Nintendo did a great job, going out of their way to make sure that Wii U 2.0 was not happening. And they pretty much even directly called attention to it too, not only by showing the console itself, but even just with the name, even talking what the console does and stuff. It was clear from all the trailers and the hype and the marketing that Nintendo was really desperate at all costs to try to make sure that they weren't going into another Wii U 2.0 situation.
But speaking of Switch 2, I do like these new Joy-Cons though. They say they fixed the drift problem, which I can see with the design, with the blue and orange thing around the joysticks, protecting dust.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the new Joy-Con thumbsticks definitely do feel a lot more sturdy, and in general, they're just so much more fun to use. I mean, obviously, the fact that they attach much better, first of all, is so great in and of itself because obviously with the original Switch, it was a nightmare just kind of sliding them on and off. But so just attaching just with the magnets is very nice, but even just the way they feel, I think is a lot better too. I've got mid-sized hands, so those original Joy-Cons, I don't think ever really fit too well in them. Whereas these new Joy-Cons, I definitely do think are a much more snug fit.
Yeah, I mean that definitely fixed the drift issue, which for the longest time Nintendo basically was treated it as being like drift. Oh, what drift? Oh no! There's no drift in any of the Switch One Joy-Cons. Yeah, complete BS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, going off what you said, Nick, I do like how much bigger the control Joy-Cons are, because like it's like you have like really long fingers, and the original Switch was starting to get more and more comfortable each day.
Yeah.
Used to be a lot more snug.
Honestly, even though it's only been like 6 months, I have to admit, I can't even imagine going back to the original Switch now. That's how much better the Switch 2 feels. Like legitimately, it almost feels like a nightmare to me. Just imagine trying to go back to like those old Joy-Cons and even like that old slow UI.
Yeah, definitely.
And to end this episode, I just kind of want to talk about my favorite thing I did about 2025 in general, and of course, like everyone's always gonna have a different thing answer to this question. So obviously you guys can just say whatever you want as well. But for me, my favorite thing about 2025, of course, was just moving back here and just getting close again to my friends and stuff, and really just finally getting on track with making content for you guys again. I think this podcast has been a lot of fun, and I'm very excited to see where my channel goes from here in the next few years. But what would you guys say was probably your favorite thing about this year?
For me, there's probably two of them. One, getting the job that I have right now, which of course I started at back in March. So that's one. And then obviously the second thing was a couple months or so later, getting the Switch 2 on launch night.
Yeah, that must have been
nice.
Yeah, that must have been a pretty exciting event for you, Mark.
Yeah.
And before I mention mine, Nick, you had to like move back to Arizona. Sorry, not Arizona. I mean Nevada.
It's been really good. Like I said, it's just been nice, coming back here, seeing my friends, and like I said, just really be, getting to familiarize myself with the community I'd grown up in for so many years, and of course, getting my old job back was nice as well. So yeah, just in general, I think just moving back here has been really good for me for sure.
That's good. Well, for me, it's leaving my old job I had for many years and getting my CDL license. I actually got it last week. Now I'm an official truck driver, and like you said, it's a little bit of cons, but like with my job specifically, I'm always home every day. The pay is twice as big as I was working my old job. And this allowed me and my wife, my kid, all of us to go move to a new house next year.
That is awesome. Yeah, and like I said, congrats on getting your CDL license.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, it's funny because it was like a class for the job. We had CDL. 1 people applied, only 3 made it. He and 2 other people. Because that's how strict they are with this CDL stuff.
I can definitely see that, but wow, congratulations, honestly.
Thanks, but yeah, that's probably my biggest thing for this year because it's like a life-changing thing,
Yeah, exactly, it really is. So, congrats on that, and I hope it really does work out well for you. And funny enough, speaking of that, I do think 2026 is also going to be the year in which I finally start to drive as well. I've been working a lot on that recently, so that'll be very nice as well, and that'll probably be a big deal once that happens in a couple months. So yeah, that'll be nice to talk about as well in a couple months from now.
I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
Yeah, thank you, man. But anyway, I think that's gonna be it, guys. Outside of one other video, which I plan to hopefully get out later today as well. Today as in New Year's Eve. This is probably gonna be my last video of the year. So thank you guys all for watching. This has been a great year for sure, and I'm really liking this rebrand a lot as well. I think this rebrand has been working out great for me. And, I think this year was a great year for my channel. Let's make 2026 and beyond even better. And, of course, thank you, as always, Mark and Astro, for joining me along this as well.
No problem.
Bye, buddy.
I'll see you guys all in 2026. You have a great day. And a Happy New Year.